Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Xraised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. My name is Miles, and I'll sit down once again with an industry leader, innovator, and an award winning barrister who's shaping the way legal research is done. Our returning guest today is the co founder and CEO of MiAI Law, the first ever AI powered legal research platform in Australia built from first principles. She's been named Most Influential CEO 2025 Legal Tech, earned the endorsement of legal heavyweights like the Honorable Michael Kirby, and is currently turning heads with her groundbreaking approach to make legal AI fast, ethical, and transparent. I hope you guys stay with us as we have this conversation with none other than Laina Chan. Hi, Laina.
Miles, how are you? I
Great. How are
recognize
you?
you. We've been seeing each other so much that I even recognize your shirt.
I love this. And I'm really excited again to unpack something core to your mission, Lena. Why the way AI retrieves and reasons over information makes all the difference between a helpful tool and a dangerous liability. So let's start where most people are right now. Everyone's using ChatGPT. Gemini, tool AI tools. But in law, that can be really tricky and risky. Could you tell us what's the real danger on relying on those tools without the safeguards?
Well, I understand that ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, any of them, you ask it a question and it goes off into the internet and does a search, and then it returns the answers. And behind the scenes, all of these language models have their own reasoning model.
Mhm.
But those reasoning models work whether you're asking for a recipe on how to bake a chocolate cake, or whether you're saying, what's the best holiday I can have this summer?
Uh-huh.
Or it's the very same algorithm that is used to apply to law, medicine, anything, computer science, anything. It's just a standard algorithm in the back, in the behind, and that's what is being used once they have retrieved the search answers to fashion a research report for you. So there's no legal reasoning baked in. It goes out there, it retrieves, and then, I mean, I can't see behind the scenes what's going on, but they have their own proprietary reasoning models that then go through and reason through the retrieved materials to provide you your answer. So
Mhm.
there's no legal rigor to it.
Yeah. Right. So in law, close enough to the answer isn't just good enough. It can get you in hot water with the court. And that leads me to the next puzzle, Lena. If AI can already produce something that sounds smart, what's still missing between plausible text and the kind of precision a lawyer actually needs?
Well, we need the legal reasoning baked in. So you can retrieve the materials, and it doesn't matter whether it's RAG, whether you are having your own, whether you're retrieving from your own database or whether you're retrieving from the worldwide internet. It doesn't matter. Once you retrieve the results, I think what the difference is how you reason through those results. And for us, my AI law, we have reduced all of my legal reasoning patterns into algorithm, into code, so that when the results are retrieved, then the algorithm kicks into action and it then sorts through and works through all those results in a with legal method.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember, but I've said to you before, we reveal all the reasoning steps. And so
Yeah.
it's no secret to say if you're doing light research or deep research, it doesn't really matter. It just refers to the number of steps the machine goes through to produce an answer for you. At the end of your research report, it tells you all the reasoning steps it went through, all the questions it asked itself in order to answer your question. And
Mm-hmm.
then at each step, it retrieves materials. So by the end of the whole bunch of reasoning steps, it could be many, many steps, 18,
Mm-hmm.
20 steps, depending on the complexity of your question. It keeps
Mm-hmm.
going until it believes it has retrieved enough information
Mm-hmm.
to answer the question. Then it sorts through all of the information and works out what are the relevant cases that it needs to answer your question. It
Yeah.
sorts through it, ranks through it, and then the legal algorithm releases another set of instructions and it generates the report for you.
So it's pretty much,
I think,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I think it's actually probably, maybe it's similar to what ChatGPT or any of the other models do. I don't know if they're ranking or they're sorting or what they're doing. They must be doing something, but it's just not done with legal method.
Yeah, it's just more generalized than, having a platform like my AI Law for legal research. But it's actual about building your case firmly. And to get to that, you've said also legal reasoning demands more than just pattern matching, I remember. So can you walk us through what that rigorous step-by-step methodology looks like in practice, Laina?
When I get a legal problem, because I've been using my AI to help me with my work, I look at the problem, whether it's an advice or a case or whatever it is, and then because I'm a lawyer, I know generally what kind of issues arise. Right? Well, maybe this is a claim in negligence, maybe it's a claim in contract for breach of contract, but within contract and within negligence, there's so many different sub areas of law. And so I would use, if I want to find specific answers and specific cases on point, or I want to find the general principles in relation to each particular area of law, I would do that because I need to break each element, each cause of action into its elements so that I can prove it, each element. So you start with the general problem, and then when you say, oh, this is a breach of contract case because there's been a breach of warranty, for example, then you go, okay, I need to find some cases on breach of warranty in this kind of factual scenario so that you can find out how you would prove that there has been a breach of this warranty. So you would need to know how you break up a cause of action for breach of warranty and how you would prove each of those elements. And you can do it in the olden days. You can do a general keyword search and then it would retrieve many results, whether you're doing it on a LexisNexis or Thomson Reuters, or it would return a lot of results, and then you would have to narrow with keyword searching down to a set that you can process yourself. It's not much point if you're doing a keyword search and it returns 2,000 to 3,000 answers. You have to keep narrowing the search until usually I get 80 to 100, and then, or sometimes I might narrow it down to 200. But if it's a simple problem, then maybe 80, down as low as possible, but generally about 80 to 100 cases. And then I would start going through it all to work out if I can find a case on point, and then work out what the elements are. And then I would work out to see in my particular case whether I have enough evidence or whether the facts will help me prove, for example, a breach of warranty claim. That's what you would do. So, but in my law, I have reduced all that process into code so that the machine does that. So you can ask the machine in natural language, what are the causes of action? What can I prove? Maybe, there's been a breach of warranty for this factual scenario, and you would tell it. You would say, whatever it is you've bought. You've bought a toaster, for example, and, you've only been using it for a month and now it doesn't work and the shop's refusing to give me my money back. Do I have any cause of action against the shop? You can put all that into my AI and ask it to research, and then it would do everything I told you I would do as a human being. Maybe you don't get hundreds of cases for a simple problem like this, but you would go through, it would retrieve the cases, it would sort through what is relevant, it would throw away the cases that it says is not relevant to the question, and then it would generate an answer for you.
Sounds cool.
And then you would use that, because that's not enough. That is not enough. And then you would use that to then work out what your strategy is and what your strategy is and how you're going to get for your client what you need. So it's only one step. All it's doing is making your search for the answer much faster, and it will give you all the cases that back up the answer. But that's not all a lawyer does. That's just what you can learn at law school.
So it makes the relevant authority for each element.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It will help you find all that. But then what do you do with that? And that's where a practicing lawyer brings their experience to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise that would mean that any law student that graduates from university is able to just
Yeah.
launch and be a
Uh-huh.
fully fledged lawyer. Because what I have talked through is basically what we do at law school, right? We learn and we
Mm-hmm.
go to the exam and they give us a factual scenario. We answer the exam questions and we say it all, but that doesn't mean when we come out of university we're very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah,
useful
right.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the experience comes in and the strategy and what you do, what you do with those facts and how you go about getting the answer, well, the outcome, not the answer, how you go about getting the outcome for your client. That comes from experience.
Yes, so it's a structured and intentional process. It's like a chain of proof, not just a burst of inspiration. And speaking of which, Lena, once you've got that method, it's not enough to simply collect the right documents, right? You've also often stressed the importance of applying structured legal tests. So why is that structure such a game changer compared to just retrieving information?
Well, because in our research reports, we've stepped it through. We've stepped it through and we practically, I can never give a no hallucination guarantee, but I haven't found recently evidence of hallucination because everything of ours is grounded to source material.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always grounded to the cases that it's relied upon, and then everything is cross-reference.
Mm-hmm.
And so, after every proposition in the research report, there'll be an authority for it, and it will give you the paragraph number in that authority. Unfortunately, I was speaking to my developers and I said, I want that. I want you to be able to click on that authority, and then I want it to open up in our on the same tab because these are third party source materials, the government
Mm-hmm.
cases, legislation website. And then he said to me, I don't know if we can do that legally, because I don't know if that's going to be a breach of, he didn't say breach of copyright. And I said, okay, well, let's ask MiAI Law whether we can do that. So I asked her, and then MiAI Law said, well, this could be a breach of copyright, if you
Uh-huh.
are opening a third party's website in your own website. This could be a breach of copyright. So it would be best if you got the approval of every
Mm-hmm.
single third party
Mm-hmm.
approval to open up their website in your tab. So, well, that's too painful. So I said to my developer, I said, okay, you're off the hook because we can't we can't open it up in our own tab. So it's going to have to open in a new tab, but we're going
Yeah.
to make it easy for the user so that instead of having footnotes,
Mm-hmm.
we'd have footnotes embedded within the research report will be each authority that
Uh-huh.
anchors each of the propositions. And so you can look at it, tells you which paragraph, you can click on it, it'll open up the source material in a different tab, but you can check
Hmm.
because you can go to the relevant paragraphs. I don't think we
Yeah.
can point it we can't point it to the actual paragraph because it's opening up in a new tab. But
Mm-hmm.
then you can check it and then you can go back to your original, the report, and then you can go down to the next proposition you want to check, click on it, and it'll open up in a new tab.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes it easy for you to, it doesn't waste your time because if you're using research products that are not accurate, that are only accurate 2/3 of the time, and they hallucinate and they make things up, then it's a bit of a waste of your time, isn't it? Because you don't know. You have to be so careful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a question of checking and verifying and reading into the case if it's really relevant and important to you. You have to be so careful that the tool that you're using hasn't sent you off on a wild goose chase and hasn't sent you off on a tangent, because that's what happens if you use ChatGPT, for example, to do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 10 cases it may cite, 2 may be relevant, but 8 are completely irrelevant, and you've wasted your
Mm-hmm.
time looking at 8 completely irrelevant cases to go, well, this is not on point. Whereas
Yeah.
if you're using something like ours, then we've already done all the sorting for you through applied legal reasoning method.
Mm-hmm.
And
Filtered.
then all you have to do is check through the answer follow the hyperlinks to the source materials to make sure that this is actually what the cases is saying. So then that gives you a quick answer to see if you're on the right track. And of course, you generally, if you're a barrister, you do have to do deeper research, and then drill down into the elements. But if you're in-house counsel, or if you're not a litigator, if you don't need to go in as deep, then that would be enough for you. If you just need to know a quick answer, then it's very easy when you're using our tool to check that the answers are actually correct and the reasoning is correct, because all the reasoning is revealed.
Yeah. So it's
no
really
one else
essential.
is doing that.
Yeah. So it's really essential to check and verify each element of the law in order against the facts that they get.
I mean, everyone has to do that. Everyone has to check and verify, but we just make it really easy for you to do that. And yesterday I got sent an article where a senior counsel in Australia and his or her junior, I couldn't tell from the name whether it was his or junior, got in trouble with the court because they didn't check their legal submissions and they handed it into the court, and there were heaps and heaps and heaps of fake cases. So, they've just used one of those free, well, not free, but, I don't know, maybe they've used ChatGPT or they've used whatever it is they've used, but their legal submissions were full of hallucinations and made up case names.
Yes.
And everyone knows it's their duty to check, but for some reason they're not checking. And it just amazes me that people trust AI. I guess it's because they don't know how AI works, right? AI works on prediction, it's predicting the next word. And then if it doesn't have an answer, if there's not enough answer in the retrieved materials to produce an accurate answer for you, it will just predict the likelihood of an answer for you. So then it will start putting names and making things up for you.
Right.
We don't do that.
It's a difference between having a pile of puzzle pieces and putting the picture together. But again, they have to check. Which brings me to the heart of MiAI Law. You've taken those legal tests, hierarchies, and rules, and you've actually coded them into the system. How does embedding that kind of reasoning transform AI from just a text generator into something that's truly a legal partner, Laina?
Well, everyone talks about super intelligence. Well, I just think that we've brought it one step, legal research, one step closer to super intelligence. I'm not saying that we've hit super intelligence. Well, it's very smart because it can go through and retrieve through the entire database. It's so efficient, it retrieves stuff. So it's super smart. I think.
I love the confidence, Laina.
It is super. I think it's smarter than me. It's taken my legal method, but because it's got this ability to go through the whole database and find the relevant cases and point and sort through which cases are relevant and then generate the answer. Even though it's my legal method, it's got infinite capacity, right?
Yeah.
So it's just brought it one. It's the closest thing to super intelligence, extra human intelligence in legal research to anything I've seen. And we've had the privilege of being able to test our results against. We used this 30 questions that Alan's Linklaters produced, I don't know, a couple of years ago to show that, lawyers couldn't be replaced by AI. And they were just using the generic language models and testing. And they're right. I mean, you can't be replaced. And I'm not saying we can replace lawyers either.
Yeah.
We can just reduce the grunt work. So we've got answers from Lexis AI, Lexis Plus, from Harvey, from DeepSeek, from OpenAI, and human answers, and then MiAI deep research and light research for these 30 benchmark questions. And we're going to be publishing those heat maps soon. It'll be in our demo, but surprisingly, the Gemini, did we test Gemini? OpenAI, DeepSeek, etc., was actually doing better than Lexis, and now Harvey refuses to be benchmarked against legal research. And I mean, that's an open fact. They published that, and their research performs the worst.
Well, that's massive. Aside from they
don't sell themselves as legal research. They don't sell it, and they've partnered up with. I understand they've partnered up with LexisNexis. That's just. But what was surprising to all of us when we were benchmarking all the results was that the language models were actually doing better.
Mhm. Well, that's great that my AI law is answering and proving the answers too. I mean, that's massive. I think what we've all picked up from this conversation is that in law and probably in many other fields, speed without reliability is not an actual upgrade. It's a liability. What my AI law is doing is bridging that gap so lawyers can think faster, work smarter, and prove every step along the way.
But can I make a point? Because last night I was talking to a lawyer who was an in-house counsel to one of the massive venture capital funds in the world, massive. And then he was saying that, for him, and he thinks for many people, 80% is good enough. And so he thinks that the demand for lawyers will decrease but then he says he uses a language model or ChatGPT to produce a simple contract. And then it's not great. It's not great. It misses certain clauses, etc. But it's good enough. It's
Uh-huh.
80% good enough, and he just uses that. And
Mhm.
I said, oh, I don't do that because I have to produce a lot of contracts myself, and
Mhm.
I might use ChatGPT, for example, to help me with a couple of clauses. Oh, it might give me a draft, but then I spend pardon me, I spend about hours to make sure that it's spot on, right? And so it
Correct.
would a job that would take maybe 20 hours if you were doing it from scratch might take me 4 hours.
Mhm.
But then he says, oh, he doesn't do that. He just gives the chat GPT a couple of prompts, two or three
Yes,
prompts,
a
and then
template.
it produces a contract, a software development contract, or whatever it is. I don't know, and then it's good enough and he just goes with it. And then he sends it to the other side's counsel and they make a few comments and they just go with it. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Because I've seen the contracts that ChatGPT produces when you've only given it two or three prompts. It is not fit for purpose. It is completely not fit for purpose. But then people are willing to just settle.
Yeah, that's
So
generic, I guess. I tried that too before, but it's very generic.
it's very generic. It's not very
You
good.
need
And
you need an expert to do that.
that's what I thought. But he is an expert. But he says, I know it's not good enough, but it's 80% good enough. So it's good enough for me. I
Mhm.
don't want to spend the time. And then I thought, but in large law firms, which is where I came from, we always had precedent banks. We always had precedent banks, right, for various types of contracts, etc. And
Uh-huh.
so we've always started from that. But then he said, well, he just thinks that generally the public will just think, oh, well, this is good enough. This could just probably lead to lots of professional negligence actions because once something goes wrong, you'll go to the contract and you see, oh, well, my lawyer didn't actually think of those
Mhm.
scenarios and didn't protect me, and it will just lead to heaps of professional negligence. So it just baffles me that just
Mhm.
because AI is there, and AI is very stupid. It's very stupid. It doesn't think, it doesn't reason,
Mhm.
not legally anyway, and it's just working on pattern matching, etc. People
Yeah.
think, okay, I will now just abrogate all of my responsibility to the language model and let it just whatever it produces, even though I know it's not good enough. It's
Mhm.
good enough. It's 80% of the way there. And I don't think that those things that the chat GPT produces is 80% of the way there. It's maybe 40%, 40 to 50% of the way there. Maybe not even that. No way. Maybe
Question
it's
there is, would you settle for 40%?
yes. I know he thinks it's 80%, but it's not. It's only 40% of the way
Mhm.
there. You want
Mhm.
to get it done properly.
Yeah, right. And again, AI is not trying to replace lawyers.
AI is not replacing lawyers, but the lawyers are prepared to settle for less.
I
And
like.
I don't know why. Because without AI, they would have had to do much more work, much more
Mhm.
work.
Mhm.
And now instead of thinking that AI is just here to help me and reduce my load, they think that AI is here to completely remove their load, not just reduce, but remove it completely. And I find that
Mhm.
a very
Mhm.
strange, I find that a very, very strange approach to take. So
Yeah.
it's not AI doing it, it's the lawyers themselves, right?
I agree.
This will do.
So never settle for just 40% or even 50%. So,
Anyway,
thank you so much again, Laina, for generously sharing your expertise and honestly, your passion for making AI a tool of justice. It's a pleasure.
thanks,
Always.
man. Bye.
So, you guys have to explore their AI powered legal research solutions or just see what responsible innovation in legal tech looks like. Visit myai.law or find Laina on LinkedIn to learn more. Thank you guys for joining us. Until next time, this has been your host, Miles. Stay focused and inspired with Xraised.